Hi, I am so excited about having the opportunity to talk with just an amazing headshot photographer. His name is Joe Henson. Joe, welcome to the summit.
Oh, great, Aaron. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that all your listeners are going to learn a lot of useful things today that's going to cut short their trip to greatness in the acting industry.
Great. Now, Joe, I know people can, look at your website and also look at the landing page and see your bio. But just to let people know, and I've never heard of this before, Joe has actually shot 16,000 headshots. You've shot everybody from Annette Bening to Tyler Perry to me, everybody in between. It's really unbelievable, and I'm so excited to have you here. So let me start off by just asking you, because a lot of times people will ask me, what exactly goes into putting together a great headshot? So coming from the expert, maybe you can explain it to us. What is a great, let's start off with a commercial headshot.
Well, let's start in general with just what makes a headshot great, which is a pretty simple concept. Pictures have to work on two different levels. One is purely an aesthetic level. We want the picture to look fantastic because we're trying to get the attention of people. We're trying to play to an audience. And for the picture to have an aesthetic value, that draws in a person's interest and gets attention toward the picture. The other aspect of a headshot that makes a headshot strong is how it places the actor into the context of what they're trying to do. Someone looking at your headshot should be goosed in the right direction on understanding what qualities you have as an actor that can be brought to bear to create a character, to sell a product, to appeal to an audience. People, in an audience, people filter your looks, your presence through what they know of human nature. And that's how people are cast. They're cast because they look like something people understand. So my goal is to take the particular actor that I'm photographing and put them in a context that can be understood by industry professionals and an audience. So they understand what kind of person they're looking at, what type of character traits does that person have that lends itself to defining a character in a performance.
So it almost seems like not only do you have to be technically a great photographer in order to pull this off and really help the actor, but in another way, you also almost have to be this, almost like a therapist in the sense that can sit down with a human being, talk with them for a couple of minutes, get a real essence of what this person is like, how they are going to be sold, what kinds of jobs would they be considered for, and then capture it on film or, digitally.
Well, that's really the most important aspect of being a headshot photographer versus just being a photographer. There are a lot of great photographers in the world, and there are people who can take wonderful pictures. What I do is take the photography aspect and apply it through what I know of the acting business. And that's a really important part. I've had clients whose husbands were Vogue fashion photographers who could take absolutely gorgeous pictures, but didn't have a clue as to what a headshot should be about and how it defines the actor. So my job is basically working on three different aspects of what I do. It's the photography aspect, which is knowing how to craft a good-looking photograph, including choosing backgrounds, choosing styling, body language, energy, expressions, finding the essence of the person. The other aspect of it is purely knowing the acting industry and knowing what are the hot types that are being cast and how do you define this person that you're shooting into those types in a way that's viable and recognizable. The third aspect of this whole thing is just relating to people, being able to meet somebody, make them feel comfortable, make them at ease in front of a camera, which is really the most difficult part of my job, is taking a person and finding a way to sort of decompress the situation. And those are the three areas that I focus on learning to be good at, and I've spent my entire career on refining my ability to pull those three elements together into any particular shoot.
And I know this might be somewhat of a generic generic concept here, but if, when somebody comes into your place, your studio, and you're based in New York, and I know you do travel around a lot as well, so you also get an opportunity to see many different types of actors and many different types of people. Is there some common theme that you would use when somebody is sitting down with you and they say to you, I'm nervous, or even if they don't say it, you are just seeing it because their body language is screaming that they're unbelievably uncomfortable? Are there certain specific techniques or ways that you go about trying to relax people for the shoot?
Absolutely. I mean, probably the most effective thing that I do is that I feel very calm when I'm shooting. I'm comfortable taking pictures. I've been doing it for a long time. And so when someone is with me, they sense that I'm in control of what I have to offer them. And I think that makes them relax. Also, I shoot tethered to a computer, which is a huge, it's such a great aspect to doing portraits, to be able to show someone a picture right off the bat. It puts them at ease because they see that the quality is there. They see that they're getting their money's worth right from the get-go. And that tends to take a lot of the stress out of the situation, because there's the aspect of just camera shyness, which is, in general, people don't like to have a camera turned on them, even actors, probably especially actors when it comes to portraiture, when there's a film camera rolling and they can get inside a character and become something else, it's a lot easier for them because that's where their training is. But in terms of just confronting a camera as that particular person, it tends to put a little bit of stress into the situation. And if they see that I'm calm about it, and then they see that the product is coming out good, and that they don't have to have that worry that they're not looking, or that the look they're getting is playing into their deepest fears, it tends to calm people down.
Now, do you get an opportunity to talk with people very much prior to the photo shoot? Do you talk with them over the phone, or do they come see you ahead of time?
Sure. Every session is slightly different. I mean, I've photographed a lot of people that I haven't met, but part of my job is to cut through a lot of the static and noise and just get right into something that feels comfortable. It's funny. This morning I was actually thinking about the idea of love at first sight, and how people say they met somebody and they fell in love at first sight. My job is to generate that experience daily, and the way you do it is to look at the person. I mean, I'm not dealing with any of their daily issues. I'm dealing with them in an idealized way. So it's very easy to be friendly with someone and present them with an environment that they can feel comfortable in, because we don't have to deal with any of the realities of things. We're dealing with beautiful light and nice backgrounds and generating an experience where they connect through the camera to the person who's looking at their picture. And that's really the key element of a great headshot, is that you want to capture the person so that it looks like they're giving something to the viewer, something to react to, or that they're reacting to something, so that there's an exchange created. And that makes whoever looks at your picture feel involved in it. They feel like you're communicating to them. And that's my full-time goal is to make sure that that happens in as many photographs as possible that I take.
Now, before we get into the specifics of commercial versus legit types of headshots, if maybe you could give everyone some suggestions or thoughts if they aren't able to have the opportunity to shoot with you, when they are searching out a photographer in their particular area, are there any words of wisdom that you can offer people as far as what kind of questions should they be asking the photographer? What should they be looking for, even if they technically don't necessarily understand what goes into creating a great headshot? But when they're looking at a photographer's portfolio, what would you recommend people do in order to try to figure out who is the right person for them?
Well, probably, it's a little bit difficult because people who are looking for a headshot photographer are looking outside of their expertise. So there's just the general aspect of, are they doing good photography, which your gut can kind of tell you if the person that you're interviewing with is generating attractive images, because you'll feel like the people look great and you'll feel involved with the contact that they make to you. I think that the most important aspect of interviewing someone is to find out that they're excited about what they do, that they love what they do, that they have an investment in the quality of what they create with you. And that's something that comes from the person's core. There are people who just get jazzed up doing photography, and you can sense it. You can sense if they're excited about doing their job, and that is what's going to, the energy that you're going to ride to create the entire shoot. If they seem burned out or overwhelmed or not familiar with the technology they're using, those are all bad signs. But to have somebody who seems like they enjoy what they're doing, know a lot about it, and are happy to share their talent with you, that's what this whole thing rides on.
Well, I can tell you one of the things that happened for me when I shot my most recent headshot with you, which really was just a phenomenal experience. You did something that I've never experienced before, and that is we were talking about wardrobe. And I live about 3.5 hours from you, so it wasn't like I was going to bring all my wardrobe up, a couple days ahead of time, and I wanted to really prepare and bring a lot of options. And you said something to me, and I thought, this is brilliant, and it was also very nice on your part as well. And you said, look, why don't you shoot a number of the clothes that you're thinking about wearing and send it to me, email it to me. And if I like it, I'll let you know, bring it. If I don't like it, and I don't think it's going to work well during the shoot, go to a store and start shooting some of the things. Go into the dressing room, put them on, send it to me. And I just thought, that is just a great idea. And what a wonderful way to help prepare for the session. So that way, people aren't walking into a photo shoot or, with clothes that just don't work. And then the photographer is scratching their heads. The actor is sitting there going, well, I booked this day, but I don't have the right wardrobe. So I thought that was an incredible idea that, you just ask for people to, send JPEGs of their clothing ahead of time so you can make, quick decisions. Sure.
I mean, everything is so immediate nowadays, and, most people have smartphones that they can take photographs and send them very easily. So exchanging ideas is not a hard thing to do before a headshot session. I send out an email that includes a lot of information about the upcoming session to the people who've signed up with me. And part of what I talk about is clothing suggestions for each different look that we might be shooting. And, it seems, I guess, to a layman like a mysterious area, but it's really pretty simple. I mean, the things that look good on you in real life will probably look good in the photograph in terms of colors that go with your coloring or necklines that frame your face. And the other aspect of it is just using clothing to help define your type. And that's pretty straightforward and simple. In the commercial world, people fall into various categories. You see them in TV commercials every day, and once you start paying attention, you start seeing that there are little boxes that everybody fits into. There's the professional, which is somebody in an office environment, whether it's a more casual office environment like a hip internet company, or it's a real strict kind of corporate environment like an IBM executive. And that dictates for your commercial shot the type of clothing that you should probably wear for that photograph. Another big area that most people get cast in is more of a casual, natural kind of weekend person. It's for health products. It's for pop culture products. It's for anything that is lifestyle oriented. And that's the kind of clothes you would wear on a Saturday afternoon. It's something that if you were just hanging out with your friends, what would you be choosing to wear? So once you get a sense of the overall kind of perspective on everything, it's a pretty simple process to put together the looks that are most appropriate for you. And a good photographer is going to really help you see what you are within the industry. I think maybe that's the hardest thing for actors to do, or for anyone to do, to take a subjective view, to take their subjective view of themselves and apply it to an objective view of how do other people see me? What do they see when they're looking at me?
Well, I guess, one thing that people can do, even prior to the session for getting their headshots, is maybe they could sit down with a few agents and ask them, how do you see me being cast? What kinds of roles would you be submitting me for? And then they could take that information, bring it to you and say, this is what the world is saying to me as far as how I'm going to get cast in jobs. Do you agree with that? And if so, then you're building this image based on reality, based on some real facts, which seems like a very smart way to go into the session.
Well, that would be the ideal situation, is for you to be able to pick the brain of the person who's handling your career. I mean, when that happens, I'm not going to have any problems whatsoever, because then I begin to act as a translator, just taking a known quantity and defining it through the photographic language. Sean Pratt, who I know you'll be having speak later on, has some really good ideas about how to figure out your type. And I don't want to step on what he might tell you, but there are a lot of ways to zero in on what you are and how other people see you. And another way would be to just collect a lot of print ads that you think you could have done. If you see someone on TV and you think, wow, I could have stepped right into that person's shoes, make note of that. What kind of person was that? What qualities did they have that the commercial was keying off of?
Yeah. Hey, Joe, we only have a couple of minutes left, so I wanted to ask if you would just explain in brief details the difference between a commercial headshot and a legit headshot. And I know you supplied us with a legit shot that you did with Susanna that everybody can see here. What makes that a legit shot? And then the headshot that you did with me, which is a commercial headshot. What exactly is the difference? How would you describe it?
Well, I think the main difference in any type of photograph for an actor is the context that you place them into. And commercial shots are meant to define commercial types. They're meant to, within the market of TV commercials, explain to a viewer what kind of person you would be in a commercial. For a legit shot, it's playing out the qualities that you have as an actor that define the types of characters that you would do in a film, in a TV show, or in a theater piece. And audiences have a very clear sense of things. The minute they see somebody on stage or on screen, they make a lot of decisions about what that character is like, even before they've spoken a word. If you see F. Murray Abraham on the screen, you're going to have a very different kind of reaction to that person than you would if you, say, saw Jude Law or Brad Pitt. It's what It's our experience of what we know about humanity, what we know about what different types of people are. There's some broad categories, heroes and villains. There's some very specific categories, like a romantic lead who is more appealing physically, is more charming, and character type who's maybe more edgy and dangerous and dark and strong. So, my job is to be able to zero in on that quality in my client and put them in a context that other people can understand, so that they get called in for the things they're right for. That's our main goal.
And Joe, the very last thing I just wanted to ask you about is, once again, people will ask me about retouching, what kinds of things, should they be doing after they get their headshot back? Any general words of wisdom about retouching photos?
Sure. I think that, first of all, retouching can be a really good thing in a photograph if it's done subtly and tastefully. Being frozen in an image, people notice things that they would never see in real life. And you are, unless you're in a print ad, you're rarely going to be frozen in time and space. So when someone looks at your photograph, if they're distracted by little details that are just a temporary blip on the screen, perhaps a blemish you had that day, or a stray hair that catches light, or a thread on a button, or something that would sort of diffuse the power of the picture, it's certainly a smart thing to do to get rid of those distractions in the retouching. Where it becomes dangerous is when the person is using the retouching as a vanity situation, where they're actually changing their age range or changing the structure, the basic structure of their face. Even if it makes the picture look better, it's not going to be a tool to get you a job, because the picture doesn't get the job. The picture gets you in the door and you get the job. And they're going to see the real you. So keep it real. Keep it so that someone looking at that picture and you walk in the door, they breathe a sigh of relief and say, yeah, that's who I was expecting.
Yeah, I tell you, the rule of thumb that I always teach people is, if you do make any changes on a photo, just make sure that when you walk into that casting or that go-see or that job, that you can make yourself look like that photo. And as long as you can look like the picture.
Yeah, these are tools to get a job. They're not meant to be the ultimate representation and the ultimate end result of something. They're meant to be a pathway to get you in the door where, in person, you show your talent and you get the job. And so, as long as the right door is opened, the headshot is doing its job.
Great. Well, listen, Joe, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the summit today. People can visit your website, joehenson.com. All the information is right on the slide in front of you. So thank you so much again, and look forward to talking with you soon.
Great, Aaron. I was really glad to be a part of this, and I hope that the people out there listening learned something useful today.
I'm sure they will. Thank you, Joe.